Have you ever placed your trust in someone, only to feel let down, hurt, or betrayed? It's a feeling that can shake the very foundation of your relationships. Trust is fragile, and yet we often place it in the hands of others, hoping they'll handle it with care. But what if I told you that placing ultimate trust in people, no matter how well-intentioned they are, is not only unwise, but also not what God asks of us? What if I told you there's a better way? One that brings lasting peace, unshakable confidence, and an unbreakable foundation for your life. In this message, we'll dive into what it really means to trust God, why trusting people can be precarious, and how shifting our reliance onto God can transform every aspect of our lives, from relationships to personal growth. But this isn't just a talk. Together, we'll pray for God's guidance, for wisdom in trusting Him above all, and for His blessings to fill every corner of our hearts. So stay with me until the end, because what we're about to explore might just change how you live, love, and trust forever. Imagine building a magnificent bridge. Its purpose is to connect two lands, providing a passageway for all who travel across it. The bridge seems strong, sturdy steel, reinforced by years of engineering expertise. But now, picture this. The ground beneath that bridge starts to crumble. What happens to the structure? No matter how well built the bridge is, if the foundation isn't solid, it will collapse. This is much like how we approach trust in our lives. We often treat trust as something we can hand over to others, spouses, friends, colleagues, without ever considering the foundation beneath that trust. Human promises, while often made in good faith, are not infallible. They can crumble under the pressures of life, leaving us devastated. That's because human trust is like that bridge. It's only as good as the ground it stands on. And, as much as we'd like to believe otherwise, people are not perfect. The Bible reminds us that only God provides the unshakable ground we can trust. In Psalm 118, verse 8, it says, "It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man." This isn't an encouragement to be cynical or withdraw from others, but a reminder that ultimate trust belongs with God, the one foundation that never fails. We are called to love people, yes, but nowhere does it say we should place our complete trust in them. Trusting others isn't inherently wrong. It's human, but we must distinguish between healthy human trust and the kind of trust that only God deserves. Let's look deeper into what happens when we shift our trust from people to God. Proverbs 3:5 instructs us to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. This verse highlights two important aspects of faith: trust and understanding. Trust isn't about relying on what we see or even what we know. It's about relying on God's sovereignty, even when things don't make sense. Trusting in God requires a letting go of control, a humble acceptance that we don't have all the answers. We trust Him because He knows the whole story. Trusting God isn't blind, it's grounded in His unwavering faithfulness, His proven track record of guiding, loving, and providing for His children throughout history. Let's take a moment to reflect on the profound stories found in the Bible. Imagine Noah, surrounded by a skeptical world, choosing to follow God's instruction to construct an ark. He faced ridicule and disbelief, yet his faith never wavered. Then there's Abraham, who, in an ultimate act of trust, was prepared to sacrifice his son, believing in the seemingly impossible promise of God. These narratives are more than mere historical accounts. They are profound blueprints, guiding us on how to construct a life built on unwavering trust. God doesn't demand blind faith. Rather, He invites us to trust Him because He has consistently proven to be reliable. This is crucial. Putting our faith in God doesn't mean we abandon relationships or stop trusting others entirely. Instead, it shifts the core of our trust. By centering our trust on God, we liberate ourselves to love others without the heavy burden of unmet expectations weighing us down. When others disappoint us, our world remains stable because our faith rests on the immovable foundation of God, not the fragile reliability of humanity. To personalize this, think about a time in your life when the trust you placed in someone was broken. How did it feel when that happened? Now imagine if, in that moment, your trust had been placed in God. The sense of loss and devastation would be buffered by the assurance that God is a steadfast rock in a sea of uncertainty. Consider those moments in life when we've promised something with the sincerest of hearts, only to find ourselves unable to fulfill that promise due to unforeseen changes. Perhaps it was a vow to be present for a friend, or a commitment to uphold a personal goal. Life is unpredictable, and in its ebbs and flows, we often find our capacities stretched thin. These moments of unintentional failure are universal. We have all experienced the sting of disappointment, either as the one let down or as the one who couldn't deliver. This shared human experience highlights the fragile nature of relying solely on our own strength or the assurances of others. As Jeremiah 17:9 poignantly observes, "The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it?" Our hearts, despite their best intentions, are susceptible to faltering, leading us down paths of regret and misjudgment. Yet, this isn't a call to cynicism or distrust, not even towards ourselves. Rather, it serves as a gentle encouragement to reposition our deepest trust towards the divine. Only God, with his infinite wisdom and boundless foresight, can steer us with perfection and grace. By anchoring our trust in him, we discover a sanctuary of peace that remains undisturbed by the tumultuous storms of life. Envision the profound serenity that arises from knowing that there is a divine hand charting our course, illuminating the way even when we cannot see the road ahead. This is the peace that passes understanding, the calm in life's chaos, readily accessible when we choose to entrust our journey to God. How does trusting God manifest in the way we cultivate and nurture our relationships? Importantly, it doesn't suggest that we abstain from trusting people altogether. Rather, it motivates us to engage in relationships with a spirit of grace, acknowledging that each individual is on their unique path, and that stumbling is an inevitable part of the human experience. By grounding our trust in God, we gain the resilience to love others sincerely, even when they fall short of our hopes or expectations. Jesus imparted to us the ultimate commandment, to love one another. His call wasn't to love others for their perfection or because they might meet all our needs. Instead, he urged us to love as he loves us, without conditions. This divine love, rooted in trust and faith in God, frees us to love more openly, forgive more willingly, and extend kindness more abundantly. Such love not only mends wounded hearts and restores faith, but also acts as a beacon, guiding others towards understanding the unwavering love of God. This transformative love infuses new life into relationships, offering healing and restoration. It encourages us to transcend beyond transactions and conditions, building bonds that are resilient and reflective of God's eternal love. In practicing this love, we become conduits of divine grace, inspiring those around us to trust in the one who never disappoints. What happens when we place our trust solely in people? Disappointment, betrayal, and sometimes a complete collapse of faith. This is especially dangerous when we place spiritual trust in pastors, leaders, or even loved ones who, like all humans, are fallible. One scandal, one mistake, and our faith can be shaken to its core. But if our trust is anchored in God, no human failure can destroy our faith. Placing too much trust in people often leads to a cycle of dependency that overlooks the reality of human imperfection. We might find ourselves caught in toxic relationships or situations, all because we've placed too much weight on others. Misplaced trust can lead to spiritual complacency as well, relying on human wisdom instead of seeking divine guidance. But by trusting God, we open ourselves to His limitless strength, wisdom, and provision. When we place our trust in Him, we build a foundation that no human error can shake. One of the most beautiful byproducts of trusting in God is the ability to forgive freely. When we trust in God, we're no longer weighed down by the hurts and betrayals of others. We can forgive, not because they deserve it, but because we know God is just. Forgiveness doesn't excuse wrongdoing. It releases us from the chains of bitterness and frees us to live in peace. This kind of forgiveness is radical. It's not about ignoring the pain or pretending everything is okay. It's about trusting that God will make things right. It's about trusting His justice, His timing, and His plan. Trusting God isn't just about relationships. It touches every area of life. When we place our financial worries, career choices, health, and family in God's hands, we find a peace that surpasses understanding. Life will always have uncertainties, but when our trust is in God, we navigate those uncertainties with confidence. God is not a distant deity, but a loving Father who cares about every. As we reflect on the importance of trusting God, let's lift our hearts in prayer, seeking a life guided by faith in the Eternal One. Remember, life is a journey best traveled with God as our refuge and strength. With Him, we can face challenges with confidence. If this message inspires you, please share it to spread love and prayer. Thank you for joining this journey, and may you continue to discover the power of faith in all aspects of your life.